Unconditional Soul, Agape House Band, Marianne Lewis, and you. Wouldn't be nothing without you. You are observing us with the consciousness and the intentionality of growing, developing, and unfolding spiritually. So based on the observer effect, everything that you observe changes on a subatomic level just based on observation. For you who are tuning in at this particular moment, you're joining with the practitioners who are observing us from a prayerful altitude and seeing only the highest and best unfold. You're joining in with the divine longing for more good that you can possibly imagine moving through you. And you're looking at the singers, you're looking at the practitioners, you're looking at me with that awareness that God has something to sing, God has something to say. So the observer effect is working because we're here to shine and to share. You're observing, but this is a participatory universe. It's not cause and effect universe. It's a participatory universe, means we're at one with the entire cosmos, and we're at one with each other. So you observing and giving thanks, and us expressing from a deep sense of gratitude, we are one rising up to reveal the great cosmos in only a way that we can. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. We're not separate. There is no separation in the quantum field. Everything is entangled. Everything is emanating from the oneness of the power and the presence and the love of God. Now, as you move into this kind of dynamic spiritual practice and have these kind of insights, which is what Supreme Interest is all about, all month, we have been bringing your attention into the awareness that if you have supreme interest in the one God, the one power, the one presence, the one love, the one limitless love intelligence that is everywhere, coupled with your dynamic spiritual practice, you will become aware that you are rich enough to pay attention moment by moment by moment throughout the course of your day. And as you are paying attention to the great power, the great presence, and the great love, amazing dividends to behold begin to cascade out of the no-thingness to become the very somethingness of your life. You begin to be captured by the dividend based on your interest, and interest and dividend kind of go hand in hand, whether you're speaking economics or whether you're speaking the quantum field expansion of consciousness. Your dividend becomes you actually get to experience, which is more than experience, I should say, you actually get to have a realization of the perfect peace that passes human understanding. You actually get to have the realization of what is meant by that scriptural reference that I shall grant you peace as your mind is stayed on me, saith the Lord of hosts. You see, you actually get to have that as a realization, not merely as a Bible quote, not merely as some part of theology, not merely as some part of memorization, but it begins to creep into your awareness, and you begin to discover that a peace has been activated in you. And that particular peace that's intrinsic to your nature, by the way, is not coming from the fact that the world is the way you want it to be. I'm talking about the external world, the world of effects, the world of appearances, the world that you can see with your five senses, which is an artifact of previously held points of view and an agreement as such of beliefs and things of that particular nature. You begin to have a peace that's not born from that world. It is born, if you can use that word, it actually has emerged from the eternal as a dimension of your intrinsic nature, because you're made out of the same stuff God is made out of, uniquely expressed, uniquely created to reflect and to reveal the cosmos in a way that has never happened before and can only happen one way through you, because you are the only you. That was a long sentence, but it was a good sentence. And so you begin to have an awareness of this perfect peace that passes human understanding, and therein lies where you can actually walk in the world but to be of the implicate order as described by physicist David Bohm, who talked about the implicate order and the explicit order. He talked about the order that was in the quantum reality that had nothing whatsoever to do with time and space. You can't measure it with any technology, but it invades everything that you can see. And most people, unless they're anointed or initiated or have deep spiritual practice, are living primarily in the visible order of time and space and collective agreement about experiences, creating circumstances and things of that particular nature. And so they never get to breathe into the peace that passes human understanding, which comes from the no-thingness of the implicate order, the indivisible, unseen reality of what we would call mystically as the great presence of the living one that is everywhere in its fullness. Now, one of the dividends that does occur is that out of no thing but an idea, out of no thing but an idea of order, out of no thing but an idea that is emerging, mighty miracles may take place in your life. That which would be considered a miracle, something suddenly happened, but it didn't seem to have any cause to make it happen. Something unfolding like grace in your life that you weren't necessarily praying for, but you kind of got into an alignment with it, either through accidental alignment or through prayerful, meditative alignment. Dividends occur, and ways out of no way show up. It came into my mind as I was speaking at the Way of Meditation service this morning. 2 services ago, we've been here for all 3 services. That was at 6:45 a.m. Pacific time. And what came into my mind was, I can remember when I was a young man in my early 20s, I had recently been set free from selling cannabis sativas to my friends. But my friends had grown kind of large all around the nation. Anyway, I was going through court and was set free. But as I went home, I could remember people still was trying to stop by my house or figure out where I was to get what they thought they needed. And I wasn't into that anymore. And one evening, a fire broke out in our kitchen. And the flames were coming out of the kitchen door. And me and Celeste, my wife at the time, we grabbed up our boy and we ran out of the house, called the fire department, and the fire department came and doused the flames, put out the fire, and there was a lot of water damage to the rugs and the walls and things of that particular nature. And we had to move temporarily, and we stayed with my parents' home. And some mighty miracles took place. I'm going to have to share some of that later, when I was staying at my mom's house, my mom and dad's house. And so a couple of weeks later, we met with the insurance agents to go over the damage to see, about obviously them giving us the money to make the repair. And when they went into the kitchen, they couldn't find any evidence of there ever a fire being in the kitchen. There was no evidence. There was some smoke damage on the walls, but there was nothing that was burned. No wood, floor, nothing. Yet we saw the fire and felt the flames and felt the heat as we rushed out of the house, and the fire department did come and put it out. And I can remember during those weeks at my mom's house, people thought I had moved. So I lost contact with my old life. So by the time I went back to the apartment, the duplex we were living in at the time, the insurance company paid for new rugs, new paint job, things of that particular nature. So when we moved into a whole new vibration. And I was reminded of the story in the Bible where it talks about Meshach and Abednego going through the flames without being burned. We went through our house without being burned, and even the house didn't even burn, even though there were flames there. I know that was a miracle that moved me out of that setting for a while, so that people thought I had just disappeared. And then when I moved back in, pristine energy, new paint job, new rugs, etc., etc., etc. The dividends from supreme interest are monumental. Some subtle, some dramatic. And as I was describing this in the earlier service, I thought about the young man who was picking strawberries. And a gentleman comes up to him and sees that he's in a field of weeds. The young man is in a field of weeds. There's all kinds of weeds everywhere. And he's picking strawberries and putting them in his basket. And the man says, well, how can you pick all these strawberries amidst all these weeds? How can you tell the difference? And the young man said, I see only strawberries. He didn't see the weeds. He didn't see the entanglement of all the weeds. His eye was single. All he saw was strawberries. He didn't notice the weeds. In that same sense, when you have supreme interest around the power, the presence, and love of God, I'm talking about the invisible, indivisible, that you get to live in through prayer, affirmative prayer, and the meditation and life visioning. Your spiritual faculty opens up, and you, like the boy was seeing only strawberries, you begin to see the presence of God behind everything going on in the world. You see the hands of love, the hands of the progressive universe working. You see the face of God. You recognize the face everywhere. And it provides the dividends that you cannot even begin sometimes to explain. I might as well share this particular story because it's fresh on my mind. When I had moved into my mom's house, and you got to understand, this was a moment in which the spiritual awakening was occurring within me at a very dramatic space. And I remember sleeping one night, and this voice came in me, and it said, read the 91st Psalm. So I got up, everybody's asleep. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I got up. I went to this little table with a little lamp, and I started reading the 91st Psalm. I was very obedient, And then they said, read it out loud. So I started reading it out loud, in the secret place of the Most High, in the shadow of the Almighty, And they said, louder. So I started reading it loud. They said, louder. So here I am reading the 91st Psalm loud. I know my mother and father thought I was crazy. I know my wife thought I was nuts. But I had to be obedient. And I'm just reading it really loud, and the energy built up, and then, it dissolved. It's like, okay, we're finished, like that. So I went to sleep. So the next day, I'm talking to Lissa Sprinkles, and I said, Lissa, something really strange happened last night. She said, what, baby? I said, I'm laying in bed. Voice tells me to read the 91st Psalm, and then it tells me to read it out loud, tells me to read it louder and louder, and then around 2 o'clock, this big energy came and said, okay, you're finished. Thank you. Go back to bed. And she said, at that time, her and this woman by the name of Thelma were at somebody's house reading the 91st Psalm because the house was being invaded by these entities. And they were working with this energy, reading the 91st Psalm, and then around 1 something, another energy came in. And then it got bigger and bigger, and around 2 o'clock it was big enough and everything was cast out. And that was me coming and working with them at that particular time because I was obedient, and time and space could not separate me and Lissa and Thelma, and the energy went because there was nothing trying to become something. Wonders to behold, dividends that come into your life as grace notes, sometimes subtle, sometimes dramatic. And as the topic would indicate today, the truth about life is the truth about you. Life, capital L, life. What is life? Life is eternal. Life is love. Life is infinite. Life has no beginning and no ending. Life is alive. Life is alive with itself. Life is teeming with life itself, you see. So much so that if you take a seed that's full of life and full of the energetic impression of what it is to be inside of that seed, and you place that seed into the soil, and that seed begins to fruit, so to speak, growing a root and then a shoot, and then you go in and dig the seed up and turn it upside down, bury it back up. Within a short period of time, the life essence within that seed will turn the seed right side up, and it will begin to grow towards the light again. That life that I'm just describing, whether it's in the seed or a tree and in you, if your life is upside down, or you think it is, and you begin to create the condition within you for the furtherance of the imprint that's locked and loaded and coded within your being, you will be turned right side up. And you will grow towards the light of your own understanding, of your oneness with the great power and the great presence and the great love of the I am presence within you. The truth about life is the truth about you. Infinite, eternal, absolute, no beginning, no ending, infinite potential. The truth about life is the truth about you, which is why Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus the Christ, said, I have come that ye may have life and have it more abundantly. He did not come and say, look at me, worship me, simply praise me. He said, I have come that ye may have life and have it more abundantly. I am the example. I am the way shower. I'm showing the way. I've come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. And so as we embrace through our spiritual practices that all of life is pressing upon us right now, that all of life is broadcasting itself through every aspect of creation, and that our spiritual faculties are about being activated through spiritual practice so that we can see the calling of life to be more of itself through each and every one of us, we become privy to major and minor miracles, and there really is no such thing as major and minor miracles. It's just what's needed in the moment for eternity to break into time. Now, I was thinking as I was meditating last night that individuals who have had near-death experiences, I call them near-life experiences, because as they pass over, they become closer to their original life. And they're able to see and check in and notice what pre-incarnational promises they made to themselves before they got here. And they're able to look at their life and see how they're doing, to see if they're on track with what they said they were going to do when they got here. And they're able to, when they come back, they generally have bear witness to one particular testimony, and that is that they are here, all of us are here to perfect our loving. All of us are here to be instruments of God's love in a very powerful and meaningful way. And that's why we're here, to perfect our loving and to allow for our priority to shift towards not materialism, not to be locked into materialism or even the frequencies of hate or self-righteousness or bigotry or whatever the case may be, but to perfect our loving to such a degree that we become a transparency for God's love. And everyone who has come back from one of those near-life experiences come back very focused on living a meaningful life, living a life that is in concert with what they said to themselves before they got here. Now, the world right now is going through a near-death experience. The fear of death is at an all-time high right now throughout the planet because of virus, because of whatever seems to be calling us to go into fear at this particular moment, which means that the world is going through a near-death experience or near-life experience that's allowing us to check ourselves out so that we can really see if, in fact, we're on target with what we said we were going to be about before we got here. Are we perfecting our loving? Are we moving into a great space of generosity, creativity, resourcefulness, regeneration of our soul? Are we moving in that direction, or are we gotten caught into the eddies of fear and doubt and worry and lack and limitation? Are we caught into the eddies of separation with the tributaries of all the things that separation occurs? Now, with this being very close, this near-death experience bringing us closer to life at this moment is a radical tension, because death is on a lot of people's minds. You go to the news, they tell you how many people died of this, how many people died of that. It's like you're not getting a balanced information as to how to stay healthy, what to eat to stay healthy, how to exercise your body, what to stay healthy. It's just a constant washing hands, put on a mask, and stay away from people, but no information that the holistic doctors are sharing all the time about your vitamin D3 and K2 and all the things that are preventative in nature. And so individuals are living in a narrow band of fear. It's a near-death experience for the world. So it's a shake-up time for us to wake up, you see, and to ask, why am I here? What is my purpose? What promise did I make to myself? And then from a much higher, when you begin to ask a higher question, you begin to see yourself from a very lofty space. You're not caught up in the weeds. You see strawberries. You see your interests. You see what you're praying for and about and where you're praying from. You see differently. And then you can see like this 3, 4, 5-dimensional chessboard of your life. And you can see the characters that are in your life and what they're bringing to you. And you can see those that have betrayed you are basically moving you into forgiveness and to perfect your loving in forgiveness. You can see those that are carrying heavy burdens in this particular life, whether it's some kind of paralysis of the body or some kind of deep situation. You can see that these individuals are inviting you to go into deep compassion, not judgment, deep compassion as they are working on issues of the soul that's making them stronger at a different level. You see different things. You see from a higher perspective that's going on in the world of phenomena. And then in your own life, you begin to, as the individuals have done when they've crossed over and come back, one of the testimonies of many of these individuals have said that they were caught up in the storyline of their life based on something that had happened to them, and they were living their life narrowly from this storyline of something that happened to them in their childhood, in their teenage life, in their young adults. This thing happened to me, and it colored their whole experience. And when they went across on the other side, they saw that they could extricate themselves from that story, to come back to the original story. In the beginning, God. Come back to the original story. Let there be life and light and beauty and love and intelligence and order and harmony. Let there be. And they come back with so much zest and vitality. And so as we're looking at our life from a higher perspective, we begin to ask the same question that the widow asked the prophet. The widow had lost her husband, had died, and he was a great man. He had a lot of access to prosperity and influence. He died, and she had kids to raise. She didn't know what to do. Now, everybody has a "they did it to me" story, or "this thing is happening to me" story. Everybody's got one at some level or another. And she goes to the prophet and says, "This is happening to me. I don't have any money. What's going on?" And the prophet looked at her, and he didn't get into her story. He simply asked her a question. He said, "What do you have in your house? What you got?" And it shook her. Wait a minute. I'm coming here with a story about I don't have no money to feed my kids. And the prophet said, "What you got in your house?" And it got her to thinking. She had an insight. "I got a cruse of oil." He said, "Go pour." And she took that oil and began to pour it. And she began to sell the oil to people. Created some currency in her life. And as the story goes, the oil never ran out. The more she poured, the more she had. Now, this is a prosperity teaching as well. It's also a teaching of mysticism, that from the infinite invisible implicate order, no thing becomes something based on your mind, based on the condition of your awareness, based on your intentionality. And she created enough prosperity to feed her kids, to take care of her life. We have to ask this time, in this particular stage of our development, we have to ask, what's in our house? What do we have? And if we ask such a question during this particular time in human history, rather than who's wrong, who's to blame, look what they did to me, we ask, what do I have in my house? Maya Angelou asked, what does she have? Nelson Mandela asked, What do we have? What's our potential here, you see? Then we will rise up. We will rise. We will rise because our attention won't go to the weeds. Our attention will go to the strawberries. We'll go to the presents. And out of nothing, that's not nothing. It's actually no thing, because what it is in the implicate order is actually an idea. Just as the seed carries an energetic idea of that particular plant, you're going to the idea. Now, here's the good news. The idea about you is eternal. What's true about life is true about you. That idea is eternal. And you may have been on a storyline of, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, too many bad things have happened to me. This may be your storyline, but the idea of you hasn't been touched by time. The idea of you is still in the mind, heart of the infinite. Now, the rub is this. Just as the seed has to be in the proper condition for its implicate order to become explicit, you create the condition. No one else can do this for you. People can encourage you, they can inspire you, they can pray for you, they can hold your hand, they can share with you, they can do so much, but eventually you have to create the condition vibrationally for the emergence of the true story that transcends the temporary storyline of lack and limitation and fear and doubt and worry and hate and unforgiveness. And when you become that condition, bam! Bam means bless and multiply. Bam! The invisible becomes visible. The unmanifest becomes manifest. The implicate order becomes explicit. You see it, you taste it, you touch it, but it was in the invisible waiting for you to say yes to yourself. What do you have in your house? What do you have in your consciousness? You've got everything. Your interest must shift from the storyline of lack and what was done to you to the storyline of what's been given you before time began. So in this near-death experience we're all having, fear of death being at an all-time high. I mean, we've had wars and rumors of wars, but it was between countries. The whole globe is having an experience, except for people who don't watch the news. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was talking about the fact that the present administration was bombing Syria. And, here we go, bombing brown people again. And he's from the Middle East, and he knew nothing about it. I said, wait a minute, you don't know what's going on? He said, no, we don't. Me and my wife, we don't watch the news, So except for people who don't watch the news, people are in a storyline of worst case scenario, fear of death. So we're close to a near life experience. So instead of having to die and come back, why don't we just take the lessons of those who have already done that? Check in with yourself right now and see. You can talk to your soul. You really can. You can see, are you doing what you said you were going to do before you got here? Are you doing that? Is your priority about your own unfolding? Is your priority about activating your potential? Is your priority about unleashing the love, perfecting the love and the tributaries of love? Kindness, compassion, forgiveness, generosity. I mean, there's the tributaries all emanating from the one love. You ask yourself this question, and then if you ask, what's in my house? That's empowering, because you're not asking, what is it that I don't have? No. Stay away from that. No, don't let the mind go down that. Oh, what you don't have? No, that's not a good question. Because you'll start, I don't have this house, I don't have... No. What do I have? Start with that. What do I have? What do I have? She had a cruise of oil. What you got? You got a talent? You got a gift? You got some latent gifts? You got some knowledge about something? You have some resources? You have a mind? You have a mouth? You can speak something into existence? What you got? What you got? If it's difficult for you, write the question down before you go to bed at night. What do I have to give in my own consciousness? And then the subconscious mind will begin to bring you an answer. You've got this, you know this person, you have this resource, you have this, you have this. It'll show up. It'll show up. It'll show up. But where is it on? It's on you. It's on you. It's on you. Now I want you to take a breath here. Another. Again. Extricate yourself from the fear and the fear-mongering that's happening on the planet. Ask yourself, what do I have in my consciousness right now? What do I have? And begin, and as you say that, you're setting something in motion. An answer is going to come. You can't ask a question without getting an answer. Think of Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. If you ask the question, it's going to come. Are you going to be able to handle it? Because it might mean a shift in your perception, habits, points of view, conversations, people you hang out with. It might create a shift in your gossip habit. It might make a shift. You might have to change something. It's like the man who goes to the doctor, and the doctor looks at him and says, hey, I've checked you out. You're going to have to give up smoking. He says, I don't smoke. He said, well, you're going to have to give up drinking. He says, I don't drink. You're going to have to give up staying late and carousing and staying up late and carousing and running around. He says, I don't stay up late. I don't carouse and run around. He said, well, you're going to have to give up something or I can't help you. You have to find something to let go of. You see. Oh. So as we're letting go of this theme, which will be revisited in some way, shape, form, or another, supreme interest, you've heard me say it this way. You want connection, conscious connection with the presence of God, more than a man whose hair is on fire wants a lake. You want this kind of supreme interest to be the dynamic of St. Augustine, I shall not rest until I rest in thee, O Lord. And we're resting in the evolutionary impulse that governs all creation. You want to hear Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus the Christ, saying, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. But you also want him hear him say to you today that greater things than these shall you do. You want to hear the vibration of you are the light that lights up every man and woman that cometh into the world. You want to hear the ground upon which you're standing. It's holy because you're standing there. You want to keep coming back to this over and over and over again. And you'll find that if you do, I hear my grandfather, because he would say, if you're a giver, you'll find that if you do, the big man upstairs will always take care. I just heard him say it, the big man upstairs will always take care of you. You'll find that if you do, the presence that is never in absence, that which is invisible but indivisible, the implicate, will be there for you. You will be the right condition for it. Wow. Wow. I think that's it. I think that's it in terms of the words. So everything else is for us to be conscious celebrants of the divine. Conscious celebrants of the divine. This is why we invite you to dance. I can remember when we first started doing this, it came to me in a dream. I had a lucid dream, and I was having the congregation dance. Even pre-COVID, if you remember, we would dance from time to time, and it was showing me the glow around people and what happens when they dance from the spirit of celebration and the tonic chemicals that would flow. And at that same week, a friend of mine called me, and she said, I was doing plant medicine, and I saw dance, and I was supposed to tell you should have the congregation dance. I said, I got it. I'm already doing it, you know. And so this is why we do it. It's not frivolous. It's not just for fun, even though fun is good. Actually, we're moving. We're moving. We're moving. Watch these beings move. Watch these beings move. It looks like Jacqueline Brown Benefield. Looks like Jason Benefield. Look at Jason. Look on his face. It's funny because Jacqueline's from the East Coast, but she's dancing like a West Coast person. Because East Coast people be serious when they dance. And Jason got the serious look. Come on, Jason.
Gonna tell you what you can do with my love. All right.
I performed the marriage ceremony for these people here. Come on, Jacqueline. Come on, Jason. You're a celebrant for the divine. We had Perla up at the last service. Amy Chavez's sister from Texas. I think you're about to kick your leg up. That smile on my face, I want one on yours. You know why? Because Curtis Mayfield said once, you're a winner. There's a winner in you. Not a whiner. A winner. Let's move and groove with that. Have you seen Diane? Jason.
People's mind is in your way. No more tears do we cry, and we have finally cried our eyes, and we're moving on up. Moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up. Moving on up. We're living proof, we're all alert, and we're true to the comeback, cause we're a winner. And everybody knows it too. Just keep on pushing, like your leaders tell you to. At last the blessed day has come, and I don't care where you come from, cause you're moving on up. Moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up. Yeah. Moving on up. Woo.
Michael Lyric. Come on.
Hey, we're moving on up, y'all. Moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up. Moving on up. I don't mind living here to show the world we have no fear. We're a winner, and everybody knows it too. Just keep on pushing, like your leaders tell you to. At last the blessed day has come, and I don't care where you come from. We're gonna move on up. Moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up, yeah. Moving on up. Oh, woo. Move on up, y'all. Go ahead, girl, move on up top. Yeah. Moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up, yeah.
Kick it, Michael. Michael Lyric, kick it.
fish don't burn in the kitchen, beans don't burn in the grill.
Ginger's daughter.
There's a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill. Now we're up in the big league. I guess my turn is up. As long as it's you and me, baby, ain't nothing wrong with us. Cause we're moving on up.
That sounded good.
Lord have mercy, we're moving on up.
That
y'all.
sounded good, Jason. Joshua,
Lord have mercy,
sounded
we're moving
good.
on up, y'all.
Like Maya Angelou. We're moving on up. Just say that to yourself all week. I'm moving on up in consciousness. I'm rising like a phoenix. I'm expanding my wings and I'm flying. Ain't nothing hold me back. For there is nothing to hold me back because there's nothing outside of an infinite presence. Someone wrote in, but evil is real. I said it's a real experience, but it's not eternal. Only God is eternal. Your life is eternal. Lack, limitation, evil is a temporary experience based on limited perception. That's why I can proclaim that love and peace and joy and wisdom and harmony, it's everywhere, except where it's being suppressed by limited perception. Why are we here? We're expanding our point of view. Woo! God is everywhere. I'm here to declare it. God is everywhere. And so we turn within in this moment. Just tap at the space between your eyebrows. Here you are, you're establishing an intention to see without eyes, to hear without ears, to see with consciousness. The implicate order, the invisible, the indivisible presence everywhere. Light everywhere. And as we turn within, we lift our awareness into the consciousness of gratitude and thanksgiving. Be grateful for anything. Be grateful for everything. Be grateful for nothing at all. And this becomes not only our attitude, but it becomes our altitude. It's where we live. We live in the secret place of the Most High, under the shadow of the Almighty, making the Most High our habitation, the upper room. Come. In this consciousness of gratitude, we get to remember, we get to recognize, we get to recognize the presence that's never an absence. Back of everything is the presence of God. I'm not saying sometimes it's just not hard. It's hard. You might be going through something that's hard. I understand. It may be hard. It may be difficult. It may be, oh my God, how did I get myself into this? I understand it. Your life may be upside down in some area, but right now, we're turning, that seed is turning right side up. You're becoming interested in the presence. Characters in your life may be bringing you to forgiveness, compassion, or dropping your story. If we rise in this awareness and from a deep sense of unity, I should say a pure sense of unity, my life is the life of the divine. And as I say, my life is the life of the divine, in the invisible side of life, there's only one life, so we're all intricately connected, entangled with each other. So just as Jesus the Christ said, as I am lifted up, I draw unto me. As I move into this deep consciousness of unity with the presence of God, I draw everyone into this frequency. And I speak the word for each and every individual tuning in now or later, that right where they are, God is in God's fullness, and that this divine presence is so coursing through their spiritual veins that every organ, action, function of their body temple, the mental body, the emotional body, the subtle bodies, are all coming under the aegis of the celestial body, which is perfect. The body of our affairs, our financial bodies, everything is glowing in harmony now with abundance. I have come that ye may have more life and have it more abundantly. And that's what he said. I believe it. And so I accept that from this moment on, everything is working together for our good. Feel it. Say out loud, everything is working together for my good. Say out loud, all of my needs are met right now. I'm totally healthy in every way. Oh, the scripture says, let the weak say, I am strong. They're giving you what to say. I'm strong. Say, I'm strong. I am absolutely resourceful. My life is revealing regeneration. Oh, I want to just turn back the hands of time again. We're dissolving ageism consciousness. Are you aware there's no such thing as an old age disease? There's lack of nutrition disease, lack of exercise disease. There's lack of great thought disease. There's no old age disease. It doesn't exist. We want to give you back the years that the locusts have eaten. Just go ahead and accept now. Just accept that your body is becoming younger. For as many as believed, received. Your body's becoming stronger, more vibrant, more beautiful, more supple, more flexible. Oh, just accept it. What do you have to lose? Accept it right now. Accept it. I see it. See it. Oh, I need you to see it. The presence of God said, let there be. Oh, it's beautiful. See it. See it.
I see trees of green, red roses too, and I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, they are also on the faces of all the people going by. And I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry
world that God sees is wonderful. The possibilities, the potential is right here within each and every one of us. We bless our eyes that we may see this with that which is beyond the eye, our consciousness.